Hey guys, welcome back to the Gospel Recipe. If this is your first time here, my name is Daniela Agofri and I'm your host for the Gospel Recipe. Welcome back to another episode, y'all. This is gonna be a part two of last week's video, right? If you've been following the podcast, you know we talked about guard your heart. So this is part two, right? And it's interesting because when I was like, when I finished recording that video, right? I felt a very strong nudging to like record part two because actually it was never planned to have a part two, but I realized like there was something so important that I didn't say, right, especially from the story of lots in the Bible, right? Because that's actually the chapter of the Bible I was reading that morning, like the verse, the story of Lot and his wife, right? And how God told them to leave Sodom and Gomorrah and all of that. And it just emphasized because I already had the topic in mind, right? But when I read this that morning, I was like, yeah, the Lord definitely wants you to talk about this. Then I talked about it, like I recorded part one, then I finished recording and immediately I was like, shit, I didn't talk about crap. I didn't talk about this. I'm like, okay, I need to do a part two. And I felt a very strong nudging to record part two in that instant. But I was just like, oh God, I didn't plan for this. Like I'm not ready. And I was giving all these excuses, right? And I think that's something the Lord is teaching me in this season, like prompt obedience. Like um when God prompts you to do something, it's not always going to be convenient. It's not always going to be the perfect timing according to your schedule. But that is what obedience is all about. It's not going to be convenient. I mean, like the Lord literally told Abraham to kill Isaac. Like it was not convenient. It was not what he wanted to do. But God had a plan. There was something He was trying to reveal to all of through all of that. Right. So anyways, I believe the next episode or the next two episodes I'm gonna be talking about obedience. So yeah. Um so yeah, back to guard your heart part two, right? And this is from the story of Lot in the Bible, right? So just giving you guys like a background context if you're not familiar with the story of Lot and just like Sodom and Gomorrah. I believe that you are. I believe like we're all Bible students, right? This is Abraham making intercession, right? On behalf of like Lot, and on how God should not destroy the city that Lot was in, right? And he was saying all these things like I'm just like paraphrasing and summarizing, like oh, if there are three righteous people, if there are two righteous people, there's one righteous person, would you still destroy like the whole city? And the Lord was like, no, right? So yeah, on to chapter 19, right? Um, it says that the two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. And Lot says, like, my lord, he said, please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night and then go on your way early in the morning. But the angel said, no. They answered, no. We will spend the night in the square, but he insisted so strongly that they did go with him and entered his house. This stood out to me because I'm like, first of all, he was waiting at the gateway of the city. Why was he waiting there? Secondly, he insisted so it was almost like it was expecting them. And secondly, he insisted so strongly that they come into his house. Almost like he was trying to protect them from something, like he knew what was going on. And just relating this to guarding your heart, right? Or you know what? I'm gonna finish reading before I dive into like what I want to talk about. Right? He prepared a meal for them, baking bread without yeast, and they ate. Right? Fast forward to um verse 4. It says, before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called to Lot, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them. Lot went outside to meet them and shut the door, like he shut the door behind him and said, no, my friends, don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have two daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you and you can do what you like with them. First of all, he goes out to meet them. He says, no, my friends. he was very much aware of what was going on around him. He was very much aware of what was going on in that city. You know how like someone comes to maybe like your house and oh they're trying to tell you something but you don't want the next person to hear you or you don't want someone else to hear it and you were like, oh, I'm coming, let me just quickly do something outside. That's what Lord did. And he goes to speak to them and he's like, oh no, my friends. He knows them. And he's like, oh, I have two daughters. You can do whatever you want with them, but don't do anything to these people. So he knew exactly what was going on around him, but he decided to stay in that vicinity. Part of guarding your heart is understanding that there's certain situations, certain environments that you cannot stay in, you cannot remain in because you're trying to protect yourself. You're trying to protect yourself from being corrupted. You're trying to protect yourself from, because the longer you stay in something, the longer it becomes a norm to you. The longer you allow something, it becomes normal. You're like, oh yeah, it's just another Tuesday, it's just another Friday. Like it becomes normal to you, right? Fast forward. The angels essentially, the men kept on like coming at him, and the angels had to pull him into the house. It struck them with blindness. It struck everybody outside the house with blindness. And they tell Lot that, oh, we're going to destroy this city. If you have any family, loved ones, you have to call them. Like we got to go in the morning, right? Lot goes to meet his son-in-laws. His two of his son-in-laws because he has two daughters, and they thought it was a joke. They thought he was joking. He said, but his son-in-laws thought he was joking, right? And they hesitated, right? So, chapter 16 or verse 16, he says, um, when so in the morning the angels come and they're like, oh, like where you get your wife, get your daughters, like we're going, right? He says when he hesitated, the man grabs his hand and the hands of his wife and his two daughters and led them safely out of the city, for the Lord was merciful to them. Verse 26, it says, but Lot's wife looked back and she became a pillar of salt. So my question is, why was she looking back? What was she looking back for? Like, what were you missing? Have you ever been in a relationship where like you saw shaky? You look back, you run with your head. You carry your slippers. You don't even like you take your slippers off and you run. You run for the hills. Like, what are you looking back for? What are you missing? It shows you that they had become corrupted with what was going on in that vicinity. They had become corrupted with what was going on. Fast forward to verse 31. It says that one day the older daughter said to the younger, this is after they had left Sodom and like the Lord had destroyed the city. One day the older daughter said to the younger, our father is old and there is no man around here to give us children, as is the custom all over the earth. Let's get our father to drink wine and then sleep with him and preserve our family line through our father. That night they got their father to drink wine and the older daughter went in and slept with him. He was not aware of it when she lay down and when she got up. The next day, just summarizing, the other daughter did the same thing and they became pregnant with child. Even the environment that that Lot decided to raise his children, his daughters grew up in, already corrupted their mind. It's interesting because I was talking to somebody the other day, I believe this was Sunday, and he was like, I believe he said to his mom, or he was thinking about it, I'm not sure which it is. He thought if he had not left Nigeria at the age where he left Nigeria, he probably would be an armed robber right now. That's what he said. This is somebody who is now like working in the US embassy, like he has a great job, he's doing well for himself. And he said that if he had not left at the time he had left, he probably would have become an armed robber. It shows you how we will never know because we will never know really, right? But it shows you the importance of the how your environment, what you surround yourself with, how it can impact, shape your life, the outcome of your life, how it can shape how you think, how you act, right? Lot's daughters had become so corrupted by what was going on around them that the fact that they wanted to have children, they were so desperate to continue their family line, let them sleep with their father. They didn't even see it as something that was wrong. It shows you the level of perverseness that was going on in that society that had become normal to them. And this is why it's so important to guard your heart, because when you choose not to be around certain friend circles, when you choose not to be around certain environments, not to stay there, it's not because you're trying to be holier than thou, it's because you know the impact of what staying there for a long time can do. I believe I talked about this in my previous episode where I was like, I'd hung around a certain group of people for such a long time that I just realized I started to curse. I'm not somebody who curse on a normal day. I don't use the F word. Like, it's not part of me. It's not. I know that people who do it, like, it's just normal, but it's not something I do. It doesn't come naturally to me. And I realized that I was doing it, and I was like, wait, when did this become part of you? When did you start doing this? And I realized that yes, I'd been hanging around a certain group of people for a very long time, or for a significant amount of time, and they do it, so it had robbed off from me. The thing about guarding your heart, guarding like the things that surround you, is not about trying to be holier than thou. It's because you can be easily influenced without realizing it. You can, the way people think, oh, worldly, how people think, oh, certain things that are worldly are normal. You start to think they're normal. I remember I was talking to somebody who is honestly like, he loves the Lord. He goes to church, like he's genuine, like he has a heart for the Lord. And I asked him a question about um something related to oh yeah, um like cheating on your wife, stuff like that. And his answer was very, very worldly. It's interesting how, like, when you ask people questions, especially, you can tell the state of a believer. You can tell somebody that spent a good amount of time around people who are worldly by their responses to questions, to situations, to things that are brought before them. It's not that, oh, you're trying to be overly spiritual, you're trying to be spiritual, but no, it is what you surround yourself with, it is what you have immersed yourself with, it's what you know, it is what is real to you. It's not because, oh, you're trying to be holier than thou. When people ask me certain questions and I respond in a certain manner, it's not because I am oblivious or ignorant. It's because that is my reality. That is what I choose to surround myself with. You could ask someone else the same question and they will respond in a different manner. They will say, oh, yeah, this is what they preach. It's not what they preach in church. The question is, when they preach in church, when you go outside into the world, do you take it with you? Or when you're in the world, you act of the world, and when you are in church, you act like, oh, you are in church. Do your actions outside the church, do they correlate with how you behave when you are in church? When your friends, when your people ask your friends, your family members about you, do they see Christ in you? Or, oh, that's only reserved for Sundays and midweeks if you go on Wednesdays? So this all ties into guarding your heart. It relates to guarding the people that you surround yourself with, the conversations that you have. Yes, you can, of course, we're in the world. You will do business with all sorts of people. You will do business with people that are Muslim, people that are Buddhist, people that are Hindu, like from all parts of the world. But you don't allow it to shape how you think. You don't allow it to shape how you behave. You don't allow it to shape how you respond to situations. Hmm. I say this because I think it was last week. I was driving. I don't know if I've talked about it on the channel that I do real estate, right? So I was looking for a property for a particular client, and I was working with another agent, and he asked me a question about we were just talking, and I was like, oh, to be very honest, I'm a homebody. If you know me personally, you know that I'm a homebody. I like to be I like to be at home. I like my space. I like my personal space. I rarely ever get bored. I know how to entertain myself. I will probably watch a movie. I will do so. There's always something. And to be honest, these days I feel like, I mean, obviously there are times where maybe okay you're not working, but I feel like boredom is a sign of okay you're not um actively doing something at that point in time. Especially if you're not a 9 to 5er. I know 9 to 5 is different. Okay, when you go to work, you come back, as a, you've done your job, right? But if you're not somebody who works 9 to 5, like I don't work a 9 to 5, so I'm rarely ever bored with it. Something I'm working on. If I'm not working on maybe real estate, like trying to like find a house for my clients, trying to do something like work wise, I'm working on my podcast, which means I'm researching, which means I am studying, I'm reading my Bible. Like there's something like so. What I'm trying to say is I'm rarely ever like in that space of boredom because it's something I should be doing at that point in time. So he was like, "Oh, don't you like to go out?" I'm like, I really don't like to go out. I mean, yes, there are times where maybe I once in a while, but it's not something I crave. I'm not a, oh, it's Friday, let's go out. 'Cause I know like there are people like that, like, okay, yeah, it's the weekend. You worked, you want to go out. I'm not in that category. I'm not like, oh, okay, it's the weekend. Let's go and let some steam off. Let's go out. Right. Um, and I was like, oh, those things are important. I mean, what of when you were married and maybe you and your wife are fighting and um you need to leave the house. I was like I didn't understand it. I mean, I've never been married, but why? I mean, if you are married or you've been married, please let me know in the comment section. I was like, why do you need to leave the house? Is there just one room in the house? And even if you guys are fighting and okay, at that point in time, maybe it's a bit heated, why can't you um I mean calm down and talk about it in a calm manner? I know this all ties into like okay, a personality and all of that, which is why I always say this. I was talking about this with my friend yesterday. I can't imagine marrying someone who is not on the same level as me spiritually, or on the same like maybe if not on the same level, but like at least the difference should not be much. And I say this because I'm someone who tries to, and I think it's very important for every single believer who tries to live their life in accordance with scripture as much as possible. I don't always get it right. Probably even maybe 30, 40, I don't always get it right. But what am I trying to say? Because I'm thinking about this from a point of view like, okay, um, what is love really? It keeps no record of wrongdoings. It's slow to anger. It's patient. So if Christ is truly at the center of your relationship, being it friendships, being it marriage, it shows. One thing I always say is I've never gotten in a back and forth with my friends to the point that we don't even get in back and forths. But even if we do, like let's say we disagree on something, it gets to the point of maybe calling names. It's something that I've observed. Maybe okay, you're displeased with something, or then you resort to using foul language, you resort to being insultive, you resort to calling people names. It reflects something deeper. And this is not trying to be judgmental. It reflects maybe how you grew up, could be that. The friends you keep around you, you surround yourself with. It reflects the state you are currently on at. Right? Because there's certain things that you just don't do when letting Christ be the center of your relationship is like a daily activity. You're spending time with the word, you're spending time in the place of prayer, you're renewing your mind, you're trying to be as Christ like as possible. You know there's certain things that you just cannot be caught doing. There's certain things that you don't do. Not because oh you're holier than thou, is because you recognize who you represent. You recognize that when people see you, they're like, oh, is that not BC that goes to church? Is that not BC that is part of the choir? Is that not BC that is this church member? You're not representing yourself. You're representing Christ. It's not only for pastors. It's not that, oh, when people see a pastor, no, he's doing that. He's a pastor. It's not just no. It's as long as you are a body in Christ, you are a Christian. It should reflect in your character. It should reflect in the way you relate with people. It should reflect in your conversations. It should reflect in the way you carry yourself, how you respond to situations. So, where was I? I feel like I just like silent. Oh yeah, I was talking about conversation I had with a colleague, right? And I'm like, why do you need to go out? Why do you need to go and have a drink? Why do you need to do all of that? Why? You don't um you don't have like a mentor that's okay, can call the both of you, or you guys can like talk things out. Like, why is that the reason? Why is that like the resolve? That was just like my that's just what I pondered upon. Like, why is that the resolve? Oh, every single time you and your wife quarrel, you have to go out to go and hang out with the boys, to go and have a drink. Like, why is that the resolve? It shows that Christ is not at the center. But anyways, yeah, and I feel like I'm just gonna like wrap this video off with this, right? The importance of guarding your heart. It boils down to the friends that you keep. It boils down to the people that you surround yourself with. Just the environment that you stay in. If um I'm sure a lot of people will be able to relate with this, right? About how like, oh, maybe you have children, and you live in like a rough neighborhood. You would want to like be able to do better so you can move out of that neighborhood for the sake of your children. It's part of guarding your heart. It's part of guarding your children, because you know that they can easily be influenced based on the kind of school they go to, based on the kind of friends they keep, based on the environment they grow up in. So, in order to safeguard them, you're very cautious as a parent. Okay, yeah, I don't want them to go to the school because I don't want them to be corrupt. I don't want them to turn out a certain way. I don't want them to do X, Y, and Z to keep such friends because I don't want them to influence them. It's interesting how we don't realize that this also applies to us as adults. The same rules that apply to your kids. You don't want them to have certain friends because they will be a negative influence to them. It's the same way that as an adult, you don't keep certain relationships, certain friends, at least not close knit. If maybe they're your life is for a purpose, maybe like work related, business related, you don't keep those people as close friends. Not because you have anything against them, but you're just guarding your heart. You're guarding what you allow around you. It's the same thing that applies to your kids that applies to you, right? Because you don't realize when you start using foul language. You don't realize when you start cursing. When you stayed around certain people for a long time, you start cursing. You start to think that what is worldly is normal. You start to say things like, "Oh, I mean, it's normal for a man to cheat." Who said that? Like, who said that? Who told you that lie? You don't realize that certain thoughts that come to you, you should always question every single thought that comes into your mind. And this can come as your voice. The voice of the devil you can think is yours. You would think it's you talking to yourself. Or maybe a friend, someone close to you. You would think, oh, I mean, it suddenly starts to become normal. So yeah, that is really it for guarding your hearts, part two. If this video has blessed you in any way, shape, or form, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Yeah, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.